Well, this is an exciting one. You've joined me right at the start of a week-long road trip where I'm going to be away for 6 nights, 7 days, fishing 3 different venues with my mate Matt. If you're a subscriber to my channel, you will have seen over the last few years that I like to do a road trip once a year, just to catch up with my mate really, but also to sort of sample different waters. So we're on the first night of our week-long trip and we're at the stunning Pans Lake in Hertfordshire. It's a nice 4-acre water, so nice and intimate, some really nice scaly fish in here. I was lucky enough to come here earlier in the year, back in June, did a video for the ProLogic channel, and now I'm back doing a video for my channel. So we got here about lunchtime. I was actually here first, so I did a quick lap of the lake while I was waiting for Matt to arrive, and then he turned up and we did another lap as well. We decided to come on the far side of the lake. When I was here before, I fished in the car park swim because I was fished down in the end margin down there, but they weren't really there on this occasion, and most of the fish seem to be out in the open water over the shallow gravel bars that are in this lake. You'll see on the drone footage there's some really obvious features to fish to, and the fish do seem to spend a lot of their time swimming over the top of those bars. So we've both come round this side of the lake. I'm on the sort of end margin and Matt is kind of on the opposite bank to the car park. So we're nice and close to each other for a social, but more importantly, we're on the fish. And I've got my 3 rods out now, so as I say, coming into the first evening, I'm just hoping to get a fish or 2 to start the video off tonight or tomorrow morning. And then I'll talk you through the tactics, show you the rigs, talk about my baiting approach and the spots that I'm fishing, so that hopefully if you ever come to Pans Lake yourself, you've got something to go on when you come here. So yeah, really excited, got a week away and the first night is yet to come. Right, I'm well happy off the mark on the first night, and it's the biggest fish that I've had from this lake so far. I've only fished here twice, but yeah, 24 pound exactly this one, and absolutely stunning as well, really scaly. So I'll get it up to show you. There we go. Lovely scaly 24 pounder from Pans Lake. Beautiful fish, a real belly on it. It's obviously been on the munch. It's October now, so the fish are sort of in that sort of feeding up before the winter sort of mood at the moment. So I gave it a fair bit of boilie out there on the spot, and this one's come in and had a munch, and yeah, we're off the mark. So I'll get some pictures, get him back, and hopefully there's time for more tonight. Well, what a start to the trip that was, with that lovely 24 pound scaly one last night. I'm really, really happy to be off the mark with that nice fish, but nothing more to show for my efforts since then, unfortunately. But I did have quite a lot of liners in the night. So what I've done this morning is I've brought the rods back ever so slightly, because I feel like the fish might have just been travelling through a little bit closer to where I am and hitting the line on the way through. Particularly my right-hand rod was just up and down quite a few times, and I mean it could be a trailer or something like that, but in the past when I've had that and I've brought the rods back, it's done me well. So that's what I've done. I've just brought them back about half a rod length, just down the slope a bit off the bar that I'm fishing on, because it's slightly deeper water and perhaps the fish were just travelling off the bar a bit lower down rather than kind of on top of it. There are some crayfish in this lake as well, and I was a little bit concerned that it might have been the crays sort of messing around with the rigs, but I wound in and all the baits were still on, so that's good. One of the tactics that I have done to combat the crays, instead of with the bait boat that I'm using, going out with a patch of like pellets and all put in the boat and dropped in one go, it's going to concentrate the crays around the rig. So what I've done instead is I've put the boat out and I've just put like 5 or 6 boilies in the boat to make sure there's a few around the rig. But then when the boat gets out there and I drop my rig, I'm then going to fire out about 50 baits around the boat, just spread out, so that hopefully any crows that do come in, there's a lot less chance they're going to come across that hook bait because the bait's so spread out. I'm not concentrating them around the rig. So it's worked for me last night. You know, I've caught that fish, but I still feel like there's more bites to be had. So that's why I've brought the rods back. I'm using a boat mostly because of the overhanging trees in this swim. You can't really get to the spot. You could just about underarm it, but I'd much prefer to make sure that I get it out there in one go. I'm not having loads of casts and spooking the fish off, because they were all over this area when we got here yesterday. So minimum disturbance, because there's no one else on the lake, and it's very easy for them on a small lake to spook off and go down the other end, and we can be nowhere near the fish. So that's what's happening so far. I'm just having a coffee and I'm going to watch the water for a bit, and then later I'll talk you through the rigs and the bait and the tactics and the spot and everything, so you've got an idea of kind of what I'm doing on this session. I'm really excited. I've still got, you know, another night on here to go, and then we've got 2 more venues coming up which will be separate videos, so make sure you tune in to see those as well. But yeah, for this session I'm going to have to work at it and hopefully catch a couple more. So what rig am I using on this session? Well, I'm going to sound a bit like a broken record here, but it is my old faithful withy pool rig, Steve Renyard's invention, not my own. But it's a rig that I've used now for 5 or 6 years, and maybe longer actually, and it's done me proud. It's a really, really great rig, resets itself every time, never tangles, and catches me loads of fish. Now, the reason that I've chosen this rig on this session is because I'm fishing over a spread of boilies, and a pop-up really works well in that situation, because the boilies are scattered around and the bottom of the lake's up and down. They're not all at the same level, so a pop-up sitting above the bait isn't really sort of unusual to the fish, you know, because they're going to different levels to pick up the baits. The bait being off the bottom doesn't really matter to them. And also the crayfish in the lake, I just figured a pop-up is more likely to reset itself, be a bit more crayfish proof because it's up off the bottom. And so far I've not had any problems with them, so it's working for me. I've caught that one fish. It's been a really hot day today. It's sort of lunchtime now, and the sun's out. I've not really seen any fish down this end, so I'm wondering whether they've kind of moved off from the pressure down the other end, but hopefully they're going to come back tonight. I'm going to wind in a minute, have a little look around and see where the fish are. But yeah, for now things are a little bit quiet, so it's a good time to do that, you know, wind in, have a bit of a walk around, bit of a reset. And when I come back, and before I get the rods out, I'll talk you through the spots that I'm fishing and show you the bait that I'm using as well. Right, good afternoon. I thought I would just quickly run you through a bit of a tour of my swim and talk you through the spots that I'm fishing out there as well. So I'm down the far end of the lake, kind of diagonally opposite the car park here. Reason being that, I think I said when we got here, the fish were all kind of this end really. They were over the top of the main bar in the middle and in this end of the lake as well, kind of cruising around the top with the backs out of the water because it was quite warm when we got here. So it was an obvious choice really to go down this end. I've not fished this end before. I've only been here once before and I fished the car park swim, so had to kind of lead around a bit and find my spots. But there's the main bar where my mate Matt's fishing over to, but this side of it, sort of this end of it, goes down a little bit deeper and it's still quite nice and gravelly there, so it's the ideal spot really. It's probably about 6 foot deep and nice and gravelly, so I put about a kilo of boilies out over my 3 rods and just fanned them out in front of me really at about 40 yards, so nice and easy fishing really. I think I said before I am using a bait boat because you might see I've got trees all above the swim, so I can't really cast unless I kind of got in the water in waders, but I don't think you're really supposed to do that here anyway. So I use a bait boat, nice and easy. I can get them out nice and stealthily. and accurately, and then just catapult bait around the boat once I've dropped my rig. So that's what I've done. And the swim here, as you can see, it's nice and natural looking. You know, there's no wood chip or anything like that. It's all just kind of gravelly mud, really. Got the bivvy there, and then I'm basically in a forest here, so it's very nice. Lots of wildlife. We've seen some parakeets today, and herons, and a buzzard flew over, so you know, lovely place to be, nice and natural. And I'm pretty sure there's deer around as well, because I heard lots of stomping and rustling behind the bivvy last night. So yeah, it's a really beautiful lake, and I really enjoy my time down here. Fishing's proving pretty tricky on this session, although I did have that one fish last night, but I feel like they might have pushed out of this end because we're both down here. Now, I did have a look down the far end in the sort of car park swim where I was before, and there were a couple of fish on the top there, but they didn't hang around long. I think they sort of spooked off when I got there, and now I can't seem to find fish anywhere. I've had a couple of laps of the lake sort of lunchtime today when I went round to use the lure and stuff, and yeah, the fish are being quite sort of elusive on this session. So I'm just hoping that they'll turn up again this afternoon and tonight, and hopefully once the rods are back out, I'll have a good chance of another fish before we have to go tomorrow onto our next location, onto the next venue, where we're going to be river fishing on the River Trent, so that's going to be exciting. Always look forward to my river fishing because I don't get a lot near where I live, so that'll be an interesting one. But yeah, I'm going to get the rods back out now, and hopefully tonight we're going to have a chance of another nice scaly fish from Pounds Lake. The light is rapidly fading here on the second night at Pounds Lake. It's been a quiet day today. Fish have just not been in the area really, but they've been sort of drifting back down. I was stood round in Matt's swim earlier whilst my rods were wound in, and we saw 3 or 4 fish go over the bar in front of him, so hopefully that means they're moving down this end again for the evening, and we might be in with a shout tonight. So got my 3 rods out down there, as you can see, and all I've got to do now is wait really, and hopefully one of these fish will come along in the night again. It seems like it's night bites at the moment, very quiet in the day, but I have just had a liner, so maybe there's a couple of fish in the area. We'll have to wait and see, but I'm going to get the dinner on now, have a nice cider and chill out, and hopefully something will come along before we have to leave tomorrow morning. Well, final morning, and it's not looking good, I'll be honest. I think I said yesterday that it seemed like the fish had moved out of the area and gone down the far end, and I walked around there and I did see a few fish milling around the first time I walked around, but then I went again and I couldn't see them. And when I was stood in Matt's swim, we saw a few fish go over the bar there, so we thought maybe the fish had moved back this way and they were just being a bit nomadic in the daytime really, and I was hoping they would come back in the night again. Now, I did have a few liners again last night, quite a lot actually, and I'm not quite sure why that is on this session. I seem to have had loads of liners, but only the one fish. I brought my rods back a little bit, thinking that maybe the fish were feeding a bit closer to me, but it hasn't seemed to have made a difference. I'm still getting liners and not catching, so yeah, it's been quite frustrating really on this session. There are a few crayfish in here, as I said, so it could be that the crayfish are just kind of moving through the spot and picking up the line, possibly, but the baits haven't been touched, so it's not like I'm getting done by the crayfish. So I can't really explain that. Let me know in the comments perhaps if you've got any thoughts on that, guys. Have you ever experienced that where you're getting loads of liners but no bites and you can't quite work out what's going on? Because I'm a bit baffled, to be honest with you, on this session. It might be that I'm fishing up on that slope of the bar and maybe the line's kind of going off the bottom up to it, you know, and maybe the fish are swimming through that, but when I come down off the bar it goes into sort of quite sort of sticky silt there, and I don't really feel like it's particularly the best place to be fishing. When I smelled the lead when it came back, it sort of smelled quite dirty, silty sort of bottom, so I didn't really want to fish in that. I've kind of fished on the edge of that sloping gravel bar, and I did catch off it on the first night, so you know, it was obviously a reasonable spot, but it's just not produced any more bites, unfortunately. I've not really seen any fish showing or anything like that, so it's not like I've got anything to go on. And it's been hard work, but I'm really happy to have had that one fish. You know, it's made my session really. You know, one fish from here is good because there's only 40 fish in the lake. It's not heavy stock lake, and it was one of the nicer ones as well. You know, a mid-20 really scaly one. So it's kind of what I came for. So I'm really happy to have caught that one. We have got a couple of hours left before the end of the session, and then we're going to be going on to, I think, the River Trent. So look out for that next video, and hopefully we've got time for one more before this session's over. Right, well, we are coming to the end of the session. I've still got the rods out there, but I have started packing down, got things in bags, as you can see there. Yeah, it's been a tough one. We've seen quite a lot of fish again this morning cruising over the bars and stuff, but they just don't seem to be dropping down and feeding. It's a funny time of year. The fish can either be having it properly or, you know, just milling around, and it seems like, you know, on this session they've not really been feeding heavily. I've had quite a lot of liners which would indicate fish on the spot, but just don't seem to be able to get a pick up for some reason. I did have a little rechuck a while ago with my right hand rod because I was getting all those liners, and I've just put a bottom bait out with a little stringer because I figured maybe the pop-up was not working for me on this occasion. So I just chucked out with a little bag, a little stringer and a couple of bottom baits, and seeing if that brings anything. And I am going to string it out for the next kind of half an hour or so, but then we are moving on to our next part of this road trip. So first part's been successful. I've had a nice scaly mid-20, so I'm happy with that. Make sure you subscribe for the next part where we'll be going river fishing. I'm not 100% sure where yet. It'll either be the River Trent or the River Avon in Warwickshire. We were definitely going on the Trent, and now we've sort of changed our mind a little bit, but not 100% decided. So yeah, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that next bit. And then there's going to be a third part, as I said, fishing another lake for carp, so plenty to come, guys. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in part 2.